What if I told you that most supervisors skip the most valuable three questions that could make or break their team's success? Whether you're a first time supervisor, leading a new team, or just want to invigorate a team that you've been working with for a long time, these questions can make a big difference in setting the tone for trust and alignment. So let's talk about how many leaders get started. I can tell you that this was true for me early on in my leadership days. We tend to walk into a leadership position because we were a really great individual contributor. We were really good at whatever the thing was. So maybe you are supervising other marketing people or other salespeople or other engineers. And in each of those cases, typically you got promoted to that position because you were great at being an engineer. But now there's this whole other skill set about supervision. But the thing we know and understand is engineering. And so as a leader, people will tend to really default to task management, to managing that thing that they understand really well. So let's stick with an engineer for now. This engineer, we'll call him Bobby. Bobby is a great engineer. And so when he goes into this supervision role, he wants to talk about engineering. It's what he loves. It's why he got into this. He immediately jumps into talking about task management around engineering with the people he's supervising and can skip the relationship building altogether, right? He may understand the projects super well, but not necessarily the people. The problem with this approach is it really sets the leader up for having to micromanage and not understanding their people. It tends to set them up for an environment where the people are going to be disengaged because they think the leader is totally focused on the task and doesn't see, know, or value them, but only values their productivity. What about those three questions? Great supervision starts with curiosity and clarity. So I'm going to give you three essential questions that you could ask when you start working with somebody new, when you are trying to rejuvenate a relationship, or really with your whole team at any point in time. Here are those three questions. One, what helps you do your best work? This question makes a big difference because the person immediately feels seen, known, and valued because you're asking them a question. You're saying, I want your best work. What helps you do that? Right? They then have to reflect and think about, when do I do my best work? Which just thinking about that will automatically make them start being motivated to do that kind of best work. And then you get some feedback on what sort of environment, what sort of feedback, what sort of encouragement is going to give them the tools they need to do that best work. So, question number one, what helps you do your best work? Question number two, how do you like to receive feedback? As a supervisor, feedback is one of the most important tools you have. Whether that feedback is positive and encouraging, that you did a great job on this project, the customer really appreciated this project turned out exactly the way it should, or whether that feedback is more constructive, right? Next time I need you to look at this from this different angle, or I need you to take this back and rewrite this in a different way, right? Whether that feedback is positive or constructive, it is one of your most important tools as a supervisor. But people are different, and the way they receive feedback is going to be based on their personality, their strengths, and other experiences they've had with supervision along the way. So, asking this question again, when you ask somebody, how do you like to receive feedback? They're going to feel seen, known, and valued, and they're going to give you some really valuable information on their past history with feedback. A lot of times they're going to tell you, well, I once had a supervisor who, and that might be a positive or a negative experience, but either way, it's going to give you gold information about how to give that person feedback going forward. So, question number two, how do you like to receive feedback? Now, question number three, how do you prefer to communicate about challenges? No doubt, somewhere along the way in a supervisory relationship, there are going to be some challenges. There are going to be some issues. There are going to be some problems, right? Things are going to come up. So when you ask this question, you can get great information about how that person typically deals with challenges. So they may respond to you and they may say, well, I tend to try to avoid talking about them if I can help it at all, right? And then you're going to push a little bit more. Well, sometimes we're not going to be able to avoid it. So, how would you prefer to communicate about it when it does happen? This question is going to give you information about their conflict management style, how they tend to approach problems and issues in the workplace, and it's going to set them up to know from the get go, before there's a challenge on the table, that you are a supervisor who is going to address problems and challenges and not ignore them. Now, sometimes you might feel like that's going to make them worry, but for most employees, that's actually very encouraging. Most of us can relate a story in the workplace where problems just got ignored and just piled up and got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So, most employees are thrilled to know that they're going to have a supervisor who's actually going to address problems and issues in the workplace. But understanding how your employees prefer to communicate in those situations gives you an opportunity to really supervise them in the way that makes the most sense for them and is going to help them be their very best. So, question number 3, how do you prefer to communicate about challenges? Those 3 questions will give you so much data about the people that you're working with and how you can best supervise them. And simply by asking these questions, you have really helped your people feel like you are working to build a relationship with them and you see them as human beings who might not all be exactly the same. So, when you ask these questions, one, I want you to know that you can do this in a variety of ways. You can do this in a one on one meeting, you can do this in a team meeting. I don't necessarily recommend that you do it in email. That tends to be a less personal way, and you don't have that back and forth of really being able to pay attention to their body language and see what they're saying. You can do it one on one, you can do it in a team meeting, you can do it in small groups, you can do it in a first meeting with a brand new person that you're supervising. You can do it in a annual review meeting. You can do it on the fly just because you feel like there's some things going on with someone and you're not sure what's happening. And so you say, hey, I'd like to sit down and just talk about a few things about how we're working together. These 3 questions can give you a starting point from that can sometimes uncover whatever the other issue was. So use these questions as a tool in your tool belt in a variety of ways. I think you will see that the transformation from these questions can be immediate because first, the people that you're asking these questions of are going to feel seen, known, and valued. That's going to increase their morale. It's going to increase their productivity. It's going to increase their knowledge that you, as the supervisor, are in their corner and are paying attention. What I do want you to know is that this is about intention, not perfection. So you are not going to be perfect at this from the get go, right? Sometimes you're going to ask one of these questions and you're not going to ask the right follow up question, or somebody's not going to give you very much in their response and you're not going to be sure what to do with that, or you're going to ask the question of one person and forget to ask it of somebody else. This is not about being perfect, right? It's about the intention as a supervisor of getting to know your people and moving beyond that task as that engineer, moving beyond just engineering to really understanding where people are coming from. What I would love to know is which question resonates with you the most. Share that in the comments. Which question did you immediately go, oh, I know who I need to ask that question of? Or what's your own favorite question? Is there another question out there that you find really valuable in supervision? Would love to see you put that in the comments